All right, we're recording now. Welcome, everybody. My name is William Flores. I am the founder of the South Central Arts. We're here to introduce Erick Kincree Walker. He's going to be walking us through an intro to style writing and also giving us some uplifting words and words of wisdom on his journey through his art. It is an honor to present Erick Kincree Walker. He has been doing art 40 years strong and has continued to do art in the scene, making a difference, helping many using the arts as therapy. In the early 80s, in LA, Kincree made a name for himself in the art form called style writing, but commonly known as street art or graffiti art. Kincree has exhibited himself in his masterpieces in Pasadena, USC Pacific Asia Museum, California African American Museum, SMOA, LACMA, MoCA, and the Getty Museum Research Institute, permanent collection, to name a few. As a commercial artist, Kincree has worked with clients including McDonald's, Nike, General Motors, Mars Candy, Dodge, and many more. His canvases has appeared in music videos for Maya and Genuine, and films such as Friday After Next and Anchorman. His creativity diversity embraces many styles for almost anyone and is truly a force to be reckoned with. Find out more about Kincree by searching him on social media platforms at Kincree_Kincree. So without further ado, oh, and it's like also happy belated birthday to the brother. Kincree,
Okay.
take it on. Let me share my screen for you.
Okay. Here we go. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. 1 2. Welcome everybody. First off, my name is Create from LA, South Central Los Angeles to be exact. I want to give you a quick little brief history about who I am, where I come from. I come from South Central Los Angeles, and I grew up in the early 80s getting involved with this art form we call style writing. At the age of 9 years old, I started off doing this on paper. I was a different kind of kid growing up. I was in the third grade and I was 9 years old. And it was something about the writing on the wall that grabbed my attention as I was coming up as a young person. Most young people, they don't really pay attention to that. But for some reason, the writing on the wall actually grabbed my attention like real close. And so what ended up happening with me as I was growing up, I started to mimic seeing the writing on the wall and copying it in the sense of trying to learn it. In the process of doing that, as a kid growing up, in the 80s, I'm watching the cartoons that came on TV, such as Schoolhouse Rock, where if you was to watch Schoolhouse Rock, for those of you who know about it, if you don't know about that, you can find it on YouTube. You'll see where they had like the very simplistic letters that had style and 3D on it. Those type of things influenced me. Looking at comic books back in the early 80s was an influence to me. Looking at movie posters such as Star Wars and other movies like The Warriors and other movies that grabbed my attention with watching the subway trains going by or watching The Wiz, not The Wizard of Oz, but The Wiz when they played it on the playground on one of the early scenes and they had spray paint writing all on the wall that was very creative at the time. And so those was my early foundations as I was growing up, looking at the creativity of the writing. It wasn't until when I got to the seventh grade, I would say mid 1986, maybe early 86, and seventh grade, I was at John Muir Junior High School, and I ran into some very um, creative people that knew how to break dance or know how to b-boy break. And then I ran into some good talented, what they call now graffiti artists or we call writers. And those gentlemen that I hung around was very talented and very skilled at what they was doing. And so I always surrounded myself with top of the line quality artists and writers. So by me doing that, it helped me to grow at an early age. I would say by the age of 13 years old, I was a little bit ahead of my time. I'm not saying I was the best, but for the people that I hung around, they helped to they helped me to develop and they helped me to grow. And I always had them to critique my work to make me become even better. And so that's part of my early origins of where I come from. And so that being said, I'm going to take you guys on a journey to help to motivate you and help to inspire you to being part of this workshop right here. My purpose for doing this is because I right now I feel that I have a responsibility and a duty to give back to the community, to give back to the world, to give back to my city and to other cities to help younger people or whatever age to develop and grow. A lot of people sometimes they don't give back when they rise and develop to a certain level. And so I think that it's about not being selfish, but to be able to find a way to help pull up the next person that they could grow, you know, so that this art form could be something of great everlasting quality through time. So that being said, I want to share a quick story before I move forward. I had a
Before,
teacher.
I'm
Uh,
sorry, sorry to cut you off right there, Cree.
mhm.
Before you tell the story, I was just wanted to let everybody know that if you have any questions,
Oh,
please write them down in the notes, and we'll get to the questions at the end for the during the Q&A. Thank you so much, and hopefully without further interruptions, there's King Cree. Sorry about that.
oh, it's all good. So I want to share this with you guys that's watching it. This is a real crucial story, a very quick one. When I was in the seventh grade, remember, I was so addicted to doing this on paper. I loved doing this art form. I was always drawing in class. I was the kind of kid that I would stay up late at night, being young, and I would stay up on school nights because I wanted to be the best. I wanted to perfect my skills, and I wanted to make for sure that whenever I displayed my work, that it was like good quality. And I remember when I was young, my mom would tell me, like, she would look at me and be like, it's a school night. Why are you up at 1 o'clock in the morning drawing? I said, because when I go to school, I want to show my work and show everybody that, you know, I'm good just like them. She said, well, you need to get some sleep. Moving forward, I stayed up one night, did a real good piece, went back to school the next morning. When I was in my art class that day in junior high school, seventh grade, the teacher was giving a lecture. Somehow, the piece that I stayed up last night and did it when I was young, I handed it to one person in the classroom. They ended up passing the artwork around. And while the teacher was teaching, the teacher saw a bunch of colors on some paper and she grabbed it. She looked at it and realized that it belonged to me because she saw the style. That teacher was actually telling me back in those days that this art form wasn't going to get me nowhere. She says, he's going to put you in jail, you're gonna be in the gang, or you're gonna wind up dead. And I used to tell the teacher, man, I'm not gonna wind up like that because this is not what this art form is all about. And so that teacher took my artwork in front of the classroom and she tore it into tiny shreds right in front of my face and let it drop on the floor in front of the whole classroom. Excuse me. Everybody in the classroom started laughing. The teacher whispered in my ear. She said, "You're not going to be nobody doing this, and I'm gonna let your mom know, and you're going to be expelled from school." People were still laughing. I was sitting in my chair, and I was furious on the inside. Now, I just want to say this: at the age of 13 years old, that could have really broke my spirit to the point to where I didn't want to do it no more. I could have actually gave up and said, "Okay, I'm tired of being put down for doing this, so I'm gonna stop." But that was the turning point in my life that made me keep moving forward because I had something to prove to myself and to those who didn't believe in my abilities as an artist. And so I'm here live in front of you now to display that by me staying persistent and consistent, that whatever you put your mind to and you stand strong about it and you have belief in it, you could go far in life. So that being said, as we look on the screen, we see a before and after shot. I have been able to do so many different things through using my style writing skills. And so this project that's on the screen right now is basically a project where I was commissioned and I was chosen as one of the main artists to come to Jordan High School to produce a mural for the Jordan's Wellness Center, which is a place where it helps with your health and different things of that nature. And so they picked me as an artist. I came in, did a presentation, worked with the students. Actually, me and Will worked with the students, and it was a very good process because we gave other students a chance to be able to grow and do something creatively. And so we end up producing the mural. So that's the wall at the top that's blank, and then the wall at the bottom is the actual mural that it took us a period of time to create. Okay, let's move forward. Now, this is on 103rd in Wilmington. This was in Watts, and actually I was commissioned to be part of a project, and they had some people. It was a summertime project where it was for one day or maybe 2 days, and what ended up happening was we came up with a thing because we wanted to build love in the community, but we wanted to show love in Watts. So I came up with the words, the lettering, and drew the visuals out, and a lot of the people was helpers, and so they was assistant artists to help to produce this mural, and they gave them a chance to experience what it was like to paint a mural for the first time. Now I want to say this: imagine if that teacher would have had embraced me as a young person growing up back then and to help nurture what I was doing, which she actually did, which is the flip side to her tearing up my work. She was the one who actually gave me my first opportunity. Even though she tore up my work, she actually talked to the principal and they allowed me to do a mural on the school campus for the first time in history back in 1986, 87. Okay, let's move forward. This piece you see on the screen, it says "In the Beginning." This is the cultural mural piece that's over on Crenshaw Boulevard in South LA in the Crenshaw district. This is where they're doing new things. It's called Destination Crenshaw. And what they're doing over there is starting to revamp the community. And so this piece was actually done back in the year 2000. It took us 1 year to do the piece. Um, Within this piece is talking about Black history, the culture of Black history from the beginning of time to what we foresee as the future. And a lot of us, we do our studies on our culture, so it's not like we just talking about one perspective of the history. We talking about different dynamics of major events that took place in history as best as possible. And this is what we came up with. This is partial, a segment of the mural. It shows the cosmos and the universe. Then it shows another woman. Let's see, maybe it might be on the next slide. Let's see. Yes, there it is. There's a woman, which is Mother Nature. You know, she's blowing life and peace into the universe. So out of the universe, her locks is in coming out of the cosmos with energy, which is symbolic of strength. And the birds is the doves that she blowing into the atmosphere of peace. You know, so these are the different things that we wanted to portray as far as our culture, you know, because this is very important. Everybody's culture and history creatively has something to say. It's a part of a human puzzle to share one big picture, but this is our part of the puzzle. Moving forward. Ancient Kemet. Now, this part of the mural, this is very important. I want you guys to pay real close attention to this. Even though we're doing cultural murals and we're doing a lot of visuals, we also wanted to embrace style writing. This is what we're here to talk about, the style writing aspect of this. How can we embrace our culture? How can we embrace using aerosol paint, being creative, even if we don't do graffiti art or writing, you know, but just to compose it all together. And this is what we came up with, Ancient Kemet. Now, let me explain very quickly. Ancient Kemet is the original name before they called it Egypt. So we did our studies before we painted it on the wall. Next. This piece you see on the screen is very interesting. I'm gonna tell you why. This is a piece that we created for a McDonald's commercial. McDonald's wanted to focus on building up the communities. And this was a commercial piece. This was the actual piece in the commercial. It was me, my partner named Rodder, and my partner named Reef for One. We were the three artists who painted the mural. I was the actual artist who designed this layout for the mural. So we was actual painters in the commercial. We became actors in the real commercial. And not only were we actors, we was the artists who created it. So that was a good thing for us to be able to do such a thing. Next. Create. Now, this create piece is a piece that was done on the canvas. Um, Man, this is amazing because people commission me to just do my name on canvases sometime just so that they could be a collector of my work. I want to encourage anybody that's on here that's watching this to believe in yourself, understand your talents and your gifts. Everybody was put on earth or was born to be able to give a contribution in their special way, whether it's through art, through dance, music, anything. You know, find your talents. And so this piece right here is special because, you know, somebody wanted to collect the create piece. This was on a canvas. So yeah, this is one of them. Next. This is another very interesting piece. This piece was done about 2 years ago in around the holidays, I think. When these years go by so quick. Anyway, this was done in December. Me and my crew members, we always would like to end the year with doing something creative or start the year with something creative. And this is one of the pieces. We all did our name in the snow with the sun, with the nighttime scenery, with the snowflakes and the snow falling and the little gifts. So I came up with the little Grinch with the dog and had him holding up an ornament right by my piece. So I had fun doing this right here with the little candy canes and stuff. Okay, next. This piece was done in San Diego. Now, why are we showing this? Let me explain to you why. Like as right now, I've been traveling, doing pieces in certain cities and states, and people have me come out to be able to do what I do best, which is my art. And it's always a pleasure to be able to travel and to showcase the work that I do, so that way people could experience outside of the Los Angeles or South LA boundaries. You know, one of my goals is to keep going globally around the world, to be able to showcase and to inspire other people. And you'd be surprised, folks. There's times where I go to places and I don't even know who everybody. I might go to a different state, and people say, "Hey, man, I know who you are." And they say, "Man, you inspire me so much, man. I love your artwork, man. Thank you for being a great inspiration to me." That touches my heart. What that does is let me know that I'm doing something correct and that I need to keep pushing. Because if I touch one person's life somewhere, imagine how many lives I'm touching around the world that's watching certain things. Okay, next. This was done at an event. So I still stay active by doing different events with my style writing. As an example, this was an event called the Bazaar Art Festival, if I'm not mistaken. It was earlier this year, and out there in Fresno. And I was one of the artists to be picked to go out there to be able to do some live painting. So I came up with this concept to do something funny from the movie Roger Rabbit. That was my idea to come up with that. I thought that little baby character was cool, so I painted him for my letter E, you know, because I like the way his seriousness on his face was. I like his stance, and it was very aggressive as a little baby, and my letters had a cool, basic, but effective and strong look to it as well. Next. This is one of my favorite jackets that I've created for myself. Now, this is important. I did that jacket because, you know, I'm into promoting my artwork. That's first and foremost. when I wear that jacket, I go places. I don't wear it all the time, but when I wear it for special occasions, people see me in that jacket. Some people stare and be like, wow, who did that? They might have thought I bought it from a store, or they thought somebody else probably did it. But, I was one of the artists who created that. I am the artist who created that. And it feel good because when I do jackets for people, it's like another extension from the wall to doing it on people fabrics, they clothes, to having artwork in people homes. Next. World Baseball Classic. This is a good piece done at the Dodger Stadium. Another piece I was commissioned for. Now, who was to ever think that I would be doing a aerosol style writing piece at the Dodger Stadium in the entrance where people is giving their tickets to get into the stadium. This was a very historical, impressive piece because as people was going into the stadium, they actually watched me paint while they were standing in line. And people was amazed, like, wow, like you doing that with a spray can? I'm like, yeah. So the feeling is, I don't know if you can see it too good on here, but let me say this. The piece is in silver and gold. Yeah, there you go. The piece is in silver and gold. It don't look like silver and gold, but it's silver and gold. And I used a red outline with a dark burgundy in there, and I made the background look like a galaxy. Okay, next. Kobe Bryant jersey. Interesting piece. See, this is a good thing, and I'm very excited to be able to be on here to share all this with folks because people say, well, man, like, how are you able to continue to stay relevant on the scene of as a style writer? I program myself to always stay active by being involved with different things. So there was an art gallery in downtown Los Angeles that asked me to be part of doing, this is before Kobe Bryant passed away. This was when he retired. So right when he retired, it was me and another group of artists. We all did a jersey each. So this was my contribution on the jersey that I did for the Kobe retirement. And this was in the gallery and it's for sale. So yeah, that was a pretty cool piece. Boom, style writing, moving forward. Now, this is another interesting piece. This piece is interesting because this was the very first automobile I ever painted, where there's a company, they rent out vans for people to take road trips. So they hire artists to come and paint their vans. And so what I did was, this was my very first van. I didn't know how to approach it, how to tackle it, because I was trying to think, what can I do that's not really style writing, the essence of it, but what can I do to grab people's attention? Because when that van hit the streets and people are driving in it, I need to grab their attention. So at that point in time, my mind was based upon my creative thoughts was based upon arrows, because in aerosol art or the style writing culture, we use the arrows to show motion. And so I created this van with this creative idea by using the arrows to show that this arrow was zooming around the van and creating motion with energy. And this is what I came up with. Next. Here's another piece I did in out of town, San Antonio, Texas, 2011. That was a great year because in that year, I was actually doing shows in Oakland, California. I was doing shows in San Antonio. My first time out there, going out there and painting and meeting new people. Now, I want to say this to folks, pay close attention. When I went out there, my mission was to do an impactful piece that would make people not forget who I am and to remember the quality of style. Keeping in mind, I'm representing my crew and I'm representing Los Angeles. So I couldn't make LA look weak when I hit the wall. I had to do something that I know that was going to be strong and stand out. This is what I came up with. Next. Wow, this is an interesting piece. Step It Up to the Streets, which is part 2 of the movie Step It Up. What makes this piece interesting? Let me explain to you. Well, here's what's interesting. Number one, I got commissioned to do this for the promotional uh, advertisement for the movie. I created the layouts, and they picked my layout to do as a mural. And what else can I say about this piece? It's done with all spray paint. I had an assistant artist working with me on it. This is done through a company called ICUR in Creative Unity, and in Creative Unity, we've produced a lot of scenic things for movie sets, video backgrounds, and so forth. That being said, this gave people like myself an opportunity and a chance to be able to do something way beyond just doing our lettering and our names. So by doing projects like this, it gave me a chance to grow as an artist because I start being challenged to do things that I never would do. Well, no, I wouldn't say never would do, but just I would barely do. Most of the things I was into at the time was painting my name and doing lettering. But by doing these opportunities, it gave me a chance to learn how to do visuals on the wall a little bit more stronger than what I would normally do. Next. Same thing, Metro PCS, another commission mural on a billboard, actually, all spray paint. This is totally different. Who was to ever think that down the line in many of years that I would be painting billboards, and this is one of the billboards, same thing. They selected me as an artist. They picked a couple of my layouts actually, and I got paid to do this layout for this and the actual art, which is on the actual billboard. It wasn't a copy and put on the billboard. It was actually me who went up there on the scissor lift and spray painted all of the hands, the cell phone, and so forth. So this was a very good piece. I want to share something else very quickly. I did my very first billboard with Nike, me and two other artists, back in 96 or 97, if I'm not mistaken. We did a campaign ad for Nike where every month a new shoe came out, and it was 5 pairs of shoes that they promoted. So every month for 5 months we did a new billboard design for Nike, and that was a very cool thing because at that point in time, I had to work with other artists as a team to produce one big mural. I mean, advertisement for Nike, and so that's a challenge, folks. For those of you on here watching right now, it's a good thing that you could paint by yourself and draw, but what will it be like if you had to exchange ideas with other artists and to collaborate and make your style work with their style and vice versa, their style with your style? So that was a good process for me to learn to work with other people. Next. The Supreme Kings. This was a piece uh, in the graffiti art style done at the California African American Museum. Now, we actually did a piece there way back in I want to say the late 90s, close to the late 90s, I think, or the early 2000s. We was the first to go in there and do a different piece that we did. It wasn't this one, it was another one. And we just so happened down the line to have a meeting with some of the staff or with a very special dear person. She's no longer with us. Her name is Vita L. Brown. She passed away. Much respect and rest in peace to her. She had us come into the museum and meet with her, me and my partner named Castro from CMA, another South Central writer. She had us come there and meet with her to discuss what it would be like to do murals in there, but with not using spray paint. So all of this is done with paintbrush and style writing style. That was a challenge for us to be able to do this with a brush. But we proved to the world and to the people who came to the museum that even though we do style writing with spray paint, we can still do the same thing with a brush and give you that same good quality. And we achieved it. Next. This is what it's like for me as a style writer when I have to meet with clients that's doing high professional work. I was inside of a building that was in Long Beach right now. It's a architect firm, but I had to meet with these people to discuss the layouts and the plans. When I was in the facility, they were still doing construction, so we had to wear these construction hats in the process in our meeting. and they was sitting with me, pointing out the layouts and talking about the different ideas and what will work and what won't work. So when you in business and you working with these kind of people as an artist, you have to be able to accept criticism, constructive criticism, and you have to be ready to defend your art in a good way and to be able to be flexible and still do what you do best. And they gave me that opportunity to be who I am and let my work still shine. And it was a very good project to where, I enjoyed myself. It feels good to have your work somewhere in a facility that's gonna last for years. So a piece of me is somewhere else through my artwork. Next. This is the piece right there that I was allowed to do. Now, originally, this piece was done on a very small canvas. Not this particular, well, this particular piece, but the format was more vertical. The piece on canvas was vertical in a diagonal slant. This piece is more horizontal. So we ended up taking that piece from that canvas and on the computer digitizing it, making it be horizontal. And so I ended up doing this on the wall inside of their facility, man, and I had a good time. And it took me 2 days just to do it. Actually, it almost took me a day. We had to leave at a certain time, and my fingers started cramping. So that was, I had to exercise my finger. I didn't want to mess up. Okay, next. Oh, no more. Okay, so that being said, let me break some stuff down. Is it any more on there? Okay, I guess this is I guess that okay, no problem with that. Now, that being said, I want to share some things with you guys. So since we're talking about style writing, a lot of people might say, well, what does that consist of? It consists of taking the alphabet from A through Z, learning how to build from it and be creative. Now, I want you guys to pay close attention and watch this. Our ancestors in the beginning of time was already doing hieroglyphics. And, it was very interesting because there was symbolism, letters, and characters or visuals, and we worked them together. So in the modern day and form, we do the same thing, but in a different format. Our styles is basically something that we could build from and grow and keep being innovative with style. And so a lot of people will say to me, well, how do you get started doing that? So as an example, let's see, it's hard to see. Let me take this marker right quick. Well, maybe, I don't know, can you guys see that? Or is the light too bright?
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it.
Okay, cool. So basically you would take these regular letters, you would draw them like that. Now, that's how writing first started off. People were just catching tags, writing their name, their signatures. Then somebody said, in order for you to stand out, and your name was riding across on the subway trains back in New York when they was style innovative from the 60s and the 70s, people started to do different things with the tag. So people would draw clouds around the letters. People would trace around the letters. People would do different things to dress up the letter. And so what I wanted to share with you guys is that everything basically start from what we call a skeleton. The skeleton is just a regular form of letter. But by doing this, by having a round edge shape, a squared off shape, or a diamond edge shape, you can, once you trace around the letter, you can create a solid letter based up off the skeleton. So let me demonstrate to you right quick. Let's say we got the letter A right here. Let's pick on here, let's pick the round edge. We're gonna do the round edge right here where my finger is. I'm gonna do the round edge shape on the letter A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace around the skeleton. I'm gonna show you right now what's about to happen. I'm tracing around the skeleton of the letter A with the round edge. I'm only tracing around it, and I'm explaining to you what I'm doing with the round edge. Now, okay, boom. There I go. The skeleton is on the inside, just like how the letter B is, just the skeleton. What I did was I put meat around it, but I used the round edge to trap it, and by putting the meat on it. So what I did was went around the skeleton. I kept the same distance all the way around so that it creates the solidness of it. Now, on the inside, the negative space of the A, I had to also put that there as well. So that's very important. What you would do is with an eraser, you would take an eraser and erase the pencil line out. I don't have no eraser right now at this point, but basically that's what would happen. Now, another thing, we would put shadows on it or 3D. So let's say I want to create a shadow. I'm gonna draw a shadow. I'm gonna do a regular shadow drop. Let me explain to you what a shadow drop is. A shadow drop is basically the letter, but behind the other letter, the original letter. So I created a shadow drop. Let me fill it in solid very quickly so you can see what I'm talking about. Now, and I'm gonna explain something very quickly once I color it in, very quickly, so you can really get a chance to see it at its best. Now, for anybody who's watching this right now, they might say, well, that's real too easy, basic, and simple. You have to start with the basics before you get to the more complex stuff of artwork. So boom, that's what it would be like with the shadow drop. Now, if I wanted to get more complex and create more style to it, there is other formats. So as an example, let me flip to another one at the bottom. If you guys can see the letter R right there, it's way different from the letter A. I gave it more of an attitude with the letter. So let me trace around that right quick and show you what I come up with. This time I'm gonna do is the square shape. I'm gonna create the square shape around it. I'm gonna create my thickness all the way around, and I'm gonna do the square shape all the way around it, and I'm gonna create the same thickness. And I'm gonna show you guys what's going to happen. All the way around. I'm gonna do it quickly. So on your free time, folks, you could experiment and try this exercise out and see what it's like. Oh, and see what it's like to have fun with these type of letters. At another day and time, we'll do another experimentation with connecting letters. Right now, I'm just giving you individual letters. So here we go. Let me color in well, before I color it, let me show you. Boom. So actually the letter was like that letter A, the skeleton. But I traced around the skeleton using the square edge. We use the circle edge on the A. Now we're doing the square edge on the letter R. So now what can I do with that? If I wanted to put this kind of 3D, now I'm not doing shadow drop now. Now I'm creating 3D on the letters. I'm gonna do it very quickly so you can see what I'm saying. I'm creating my 3D on the letter. A lot of people might say, well, how do you create 3D? Now the 3D is similar to the shadow drop. You basically just giving your letter a thick shadow behind it based upon the other letter. I mean the actual letter. You just giving it a solid bold thickness to the letter that creates the 3D depth of the letter. So it makes the letter look like it's actually a solid physical form by putting 3D. What I'm doing is doing it quickly, and I'm gonna put it back on the screen. You could get another visual idea of what I'm discussing. All right, there I go. Boom. Wait, yeah. Now, see that? Letter R. Based up off of what? The skeleton. That's the letter A. All I did was traced around it, but I used the square edge. Yeah, the square edge. And that's how I created the letter R. So I gave you the round edge, which would be considered softy letters or bubble letters. Then I gave you the squared edge. It's so much stuff that we could do with these letters, and we could build off of them. And once we build off from them, they have different components to add to the letters, such as what we call drop clips, bottle caps, force fills, the arrows. There's different kind of arrows, clouds, um, cobblestones, bars, platforms. These are different. Now, I might be saying names and people might be saying, well, what does that look like? I want to share something with you guys right now. There's some reference that I could make you guys familiar with. For those of you who haven't seen, or maybe you have seen, there's a book called Subway Art from Henry Chalfant and Martha Cooper. I want to highly suggest that you guys who haven't seen this book order it online. If there's a bookstore open, you can physically go get it and see it. You could go do that. That book, a lot of people consider that to be the Bible of style writing, even though it's not the overall book of style writing, because there's a lot of people who may not have been in the book. There was some real highly intense style writers that people never even heard of before from New York. But I'm speaking about New York because of the blueprint of where a lot of the styles come from. It wasn't through later of time when people around the globe started to grow and adapt, but they saw documentaries like Style Wars, Wild Style. They saw the movie Breaking. They saw the movie B Street. They saw all these little different things. There was a TV show called Welcome Back, Kotter, and you see the subway train with stuff on the subways. You see the movie The Warriors with quick throw up letters on the train, and different stuff like that. So I'm sharing all that with you guys because it's very important, to know and understand about all these different things. So yeah, definitely, I want to highly encourage you guys to get the book, Subway Art. What's another thing that I want to talk to you about as far as some reference for you guys to see? Subway Art, Spray Can Art by Jim Pragoff. That's another good book. Spray Can Art. Spray Can Art is more international. It shows you a lot of good stuff from there. Some documentaries that you guys could go see. Graffiti Verite. That's a Los Angeles-based documentary, part 1, 2, and 3. If you watch those videos from the gentleman who made it, is called Bob. His name is Bob Bryant. He made this documentary called Graffiti Verite, part 1, 2, and 3. Go check those videos out, folks. And actually, I'm in each video 1, 2, and 3, and you see other artists from LA sharing their experience. Another good video from Los Angeles is called Bomb in LA. Bomb in LA. Oh, Gary Glacier. Gary Glacier. That's who made it, Gary Glacier. I had to think of his name real quick. Gary Glacier made the video Bomb in LA. Go check that out if you get a chance. Some people is selling it online. And it's a definitely good thing to have in your archives for your history. Once again, for New York, go get Style Wars. That's very good to see Style Wars. Mind you, once again, that don't mean because you watch that one video or read that book that's the end of all things of history. I want you guys to know and understand that in history, there's always missing parts of the puzzle that people never get a chance to see. There will be names that I could say right now that's from LA that are very highly influential people that have impacted my creative life, but they never was in books. People really never seen their art, but they are secret weapons and masters of what they do to the community. Only the people who knew them is the people who had the privilege to come amongst them. So this is some very good stuff. And it's a pleasure and an honor for me to share this information with y'all, man, because, a lot of times people don't know the history of what came before them. Now, some people may say, well, what does that matter about history? Well, history means a lot. Well, why does history mean a lot? History means a lot because it shows you what was developed. Now, just because that was developed, guess what? You still got room up in here to expand, to grow, to invent new styles. But everything start with an idea. We look at other people work. The rule is never to bite, never to copy. But it's okay to be inspired. It's okay to sit down in your laboratory at home or wherever you may be and look at some artist's work and say, wow, I love what he does or she does. And you may sit down and copy it in your private little section of where you at, but don't ever go outside and reduplicate what they've created. nor should you claim that's your work because you copied it from somebody. So you would take what they've done and try to finesse it, try to flip it and switch it around and then go do it. Because we all have to get something from somewhere, but it's all in what you do with it, you know. Um, what else can I tell you about style? Style is very important. Then technique is next. Technique. Why is technique important? Technique is the follow up to style. Because if you got style, but your technique is whack, then it's nothing's gonna happen. You gotta
Yeah.
understand about can control. If you're picking up a can, your line should start here, your line should finish here. Your fade starts here, your fade stops here. You gotta learn how to do gradual, smooth, clean blends. You gotta learn how to let your eye work along with your hand and coordinate the movements.
Mhm.
When I was a kid, before I really started getting out painting, I would take this sound a little funny. It ain't embarrassing, just a little probably weird to people. But I would take a brown grocery bag, like back in the day before the plastic bag, we had the brown paper bag for the groceries. I would take scissors and cut it or cardboard, and I would tape it to the wall or tack it to the wall. I would take a can of Lysol. When you spray the cardboard, it would make a dark line. And so I was a kid still before I got out and touched the spray can, and I would just take those little Lysol cans and just spray on the board because after you spray, it would dry up and evaporate, and you could practice again and do the line. And I was practicing my lines and tagging my name real fancy. Now, some people might laugh and say, "Oh, that's stupid," and some of the people who may witness this, but I'm not ashamed of that because that's what created me and made me who I am today. People say, "Damn, create how you get your lines so clean." That's how. Partially, a lot of it comes from being persistent and consistent and painting often. Now, let me share this with you
Mhm.
guys. When I wasn't painting all the time as a young person, I was always watching and observing the best. I would go to the yards. I would sit amongst what I considered to be the masters and the kings. And I would just sit there on the weekend with my camera. Sometimes people didn't like you taking pictures of them, but I would take pictures of their artwork and go home and study. But just me sitting in the presence of these people and watching how they do their colors, watching how they sketch their letters on the wall. And I would sit there at the age of 14, 15, 16, or 13 actually, and be like, damn, one day I'm gonna reach that level. I've witnessed this gentleman by the name of Charlie from DTK Crew, one of LA's old school writers. He's actually from the Valley area. And man, I watched him do pieces that was amazing. He would do color scheme that most people wouldn't dare touch back in the old days because it was different. So I watched him do stuff like that. I watched my homeboy Dream from SMD Crew. May he rest in peace. He was doing a outline on some letters one day at the yard, and I was just sitting there. I was a little young kid, humble, and I was hungry, and I was trying to soak everything in like a sponge. Watch this. He had a can of semi-flat black Krylon, shook it up real good, and he did a clean line, no drip. He just said, psst, and the line was perfect. And I'm sitting there as a kid on this wall, like, damn, why my lines don't look like that? But one person told me, he said, hey man, if you keep on painting, you will become better. And I would paint at the yards all the time, but my stuff was so small because I didn't do big pieces. But people would look at my stuff and say, oh, that little young kid, that's cool, he did that. But I wanted more than just that kind of respect. I wanted people to really respect my work. So people used to start telling me, man, you need to go bigger. You need to make your stuff more stronger and more visible. Take this art form serious. Really get into it. Go study some more. And that's exactly what I did. And so here I am today, live and direct in the flesh at my best, man, in front of you guys. And, I'm sharing this knowledge and wisdom, my experiences, because a lot of times you may see a person like myself that have a status, that have done a lot, but you'll never know what they went through to get to where I'm at. I haven't always been super good, but guess what? I have room for improvement because I'm gonna get even better. A lot of times I've seen people see other people work that was so talented that I heard people out of their mouth. They say, "Oh man," I'm not gonna ever become that good. I might as well stop. And I would look at them and say, wow, man, don't say that. How you
Right.
think these people got to that level? They didn't stop. If you stop, you won't reach that level. If you keep on pressing forward and practicing like I did as a kid, I would stay up late at night, be drawing and drawing, 13 years old, and kept drawing and staying home on the week while other kids playing and doing having fun. I'm in the house with my headphones on, listening to Public Enemy, listening to some old school hip hop. That was back in the day, so it wasn't old school. It was at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like now it might say old school, but back in them days it was just what was out. And I was drawing with my headphones, had the volume up to 10, and you would see me drawing and coloring with designer art markers, Prisma art markers, smelling the markers so strong, and
Mm.
going to get comic books from the comic store. If we didn't have no internet where we could Google things, and we would have to go to the library, do research, look at the Sunday newspaper in the funny section in the comics, and find cartoon characters in the comic section. Man, these are the different jewels that I present to people because this is the essence. You know, you may watch. I remember, true story. Watch this, folks. I would be watching cartoons on certain days, and I would have a sketch pad before I had a black book. I would have a sketch pad, and I would just have my page open, and I would see Woody Woodpecker, and I liked the way Woody Woodpecker with the look on his face, with the cigar in his mouth, like on the hot rods, and I would be having my paper there while I'm watching. I don't look at the paper. My hand is quick, and I'm drawing Woody Woodpecker fast as I can. I'm drawing Mighty Mouse. I'm drawing Mickey Mouse. I'm drawing anything that had a fresh look to it. I'm trying to capture it. But when we start having VCRs, you get the tape and you push pause and you just sit there and look and draw, look and draw. You know, now we got the internet. So I want to Google this, bam, it pops up on the screen. You could print it out and then go paint it. Y'all see
Drop the mic.
that?
Thank, thank you, Create. Man,
Good.
it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on here, and you know, like the way that you describe and the stories that you provide really uplift and takes me back, you know, like and also allows me to connect with the youth um like today and that are into that stuff, you know. And one of the things that we want to do is, you know, like not criminalize, you know, like the youth for doing these kind of things, kind of writing. And um there's if you have any questions, I think this will be wow, there's some active Ismael. Thank you so much. It says much respect can create. I have a few questions. Who were the writers that inspired you, that who were from South Central? Question one.
Thank you for that question. That's a real good question. I'm going to drop some names that people may not even know. My mentor that taught me how to spray paint on the wall, his name is Rish, Rish, an early writer from South Central that was ahead of his time. When I was 13 years old, he was my mentor. He was a grown man already. And I'm a kid hanging with this grown man that was spray painting on the wall that had style. He would do a piece that was so incredible, whether it was simplistic or whether it was a mechanical wild style. I looked up to Rish, one of the guys that helped me to develop in my piece books from junior high school. When I was in the 7th grade, there was a guy in the 9th grade. His name was Bazaar One. And Bazaar had a magnificent piece book. And so he showed me how to use the markers, showed me how to blend them. He showed me the different techniques, showed me what to use. But the guy who taught him, his name was called Simi, Seeme. So Simi was another South Central writer. Let me add another South Central writer, Ler One, from a crew called Cold Crush Artists. Ler One was very inspirational to me. Well, at the age of 13, I battled 3 guys in junior high school. And in this battle, I took all 3 of them out at lunchtime. So they was like, man, we got somebody who will tear you up, man. He'll beat you in all the battles. And I had an attitude back then. I was young. I had a different state of mind. So I'm talking back. Well, bring them on then. I don't care what's up. Bring them, bring them. And I didn't know who they was talking about. they bring this dude. He was older than he was. I think he was out of school. He was out of high school. He came up there to the school on a Friday. He came up there in the lunch area. Is at lunchtime, and he had a sketchbook. I didn't know who he was because you definitely knew he didn't go to school with us because he had an older look. He was like, "Who's Create?" I paused for a minute because I'm like, "Man, what do you want me for?" I was like, "That's me." He didn't say nothing else. He handed me a little bitty piece book. I'm talking about like the small kind. He handed me this small piece book and he asked me, "Well, let me see your book." So I was like hesitant on giving him my book. I shared my book with him. I opened up that little book that he gave me to look at. The first page blew me out the water. His styles was so ahead of his time for back in 86, 87. He was doing stuff to me that would take out a lot of styles that I see now. That's how deep his styles was. His name, and when anybody who know who he is mention his name, they be like, "Oh man," anybody who know who he is that mention his name, when his name is mentioned, everybody just they like, "Oh man," they know he's incredible. His stuff it'll blow some folks up. That's how powerful his letters are. So yeah, yep, those are some of my influences. But I want to give a shout out to my buddy. His nickname is Green from SMD. He was one of the writers with Dream from SMD out of Carson. Dream passed away. May he rest in peace. But Green is one of the writers from SMD. It was a two-man crew, and Green had a lot of inspiration on my style as well because his characters was fresh, his letters was fresh, and the way they presented their artwork was always on top. Uh, Much respect to my buddies from the L2S crew, which I'm a part of, Last to Survive, but the original foundation of the crew, which is Mark 7, Sane, Sinner, Riot, them guys made, I looked up to them because, and made Clever rest in peace, and the DEF crew, the Bomb Force crew. When I looked at their work, I was really like motivated. Like their styles and their color schemes and the treatment of how they colored in their artwork was ahead of its time. A guy that you guys may know of, his name is OG Abel. But when he was with the Def Crew, his nickname was Sphere. Same thing with Mr. Cartoon, who do the tattoo artwork. Before he became Mr. Cartoon, his nickname was Flame One. And I was actually around seeing these guys work that I was inspired by. It wasn't until a little bit later when I started really connecting with people from West Coast artists such as PJ and Cool Boy and a few other them writers. They took me to a whole different level. I would look at their piece books and it was a different look to the artwork. And so when you surround yourself with good quality writers and good artists, you don't have no option but to either be challenged in the good way of friendly competition to rise up, or you could just say, "Damn, man, these dudes is too fresh. I give up." But I was that youngster that I was like, "Man, if you can't beat them, join them." But I wasn't trying to really beat them. I was trying to learn because I was young. I was trying to study. I was trying to soak it up. So when I would look at their stuff, they wouldn't let you look at their book long because then they would think you was biting. So I had to have a photographic memory and look at their work, go home and try to draw my version of what I saw them doing and to elevate it. And so that's what I did. Yeah, so
Um,
that was a good
I'm
question.
true. I'm so sorry. I forgot to stop recording.
Oh,
It
it's
is
all good.
should all right. So I'm gonna stop recording. These next questions are gonna be more on the private side.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, okay.
okay, and from let's see. Stop.